Okay, we'll get started. Thanks to those of you guys who tuned in live today. If you guys have any questions as we go, we'll have quick time at the end. I only got, like, as you can see, I just went through all my slides, like 7
Yep.
slides here to give you guys a quick update. But we'll have always plenty of time for Q&A. And if you are watching the recording and have a question, feel free to shoot us an email or communicate it with us however you guys want. All right, let's get started. I got our disclaimer just because we will be recording it for all of our fun stuff. All right, so quick summary. This is kind of a snapshot of everything since we last did our last update. Our last update was 3 months ago in November. So a lot of bigger, some of like CapEx stuff. So you can see this is an older photo, so you can't actually see the roof. But this is a roof where we replaced. You can see most of the other roofs were done. So we replaced 107. So that was one of the bigger projects we recently finished. These are different units that were completed. In 105, we actually added a common room. It sits right here. It's actually a little laundry room. And then a lot of different units got done in 105. And then we've been starting to move into 107. So you can see several of them continue this month. And then the good news is this is all that's left as far as units. Again, and I give that caveat, is this is all that's left from the current units we plan to do. There will be some units that like we'll have move outs and we'll kind of evaluate there. Are we going to go put more money into those? But based on demand we're seeing, I think a lot of them we'll just clean them up and re-rent them out because we're seeing a lot of good demand so far.
Okay, good.
But these were the big ones that we knew. These were the big scopes that we knew about kind of going into it. Okay, just give you guys
Is that pretty much, Kate, was that pretty much your expectation schedule-wise? Would you say you're on schedule, ahead of schedule? You know, any major surprises to that?
Yeah, I think pretty much on schedule. If anything, possibly ahead. Like, okay, I was optimistic that like I think if we have a crew there working consistently, we should be able to get this thing done more like faster than the last large one we did, and I think it really has. And I don't want to get ahead of it, or jinx it, but yeah, our hope is that like we can start getting all these units. So if we could have all the units full by the end of Q1 is kind of our goal. Or so are all the units completed, right? Yeah. And then we could work on leasing through kind of Q2 and potentially be able to go look at a refinance still this year. So I would love to get the refinance done still in 2025 would be my goal.
That's pretty impressive.
But we've got to still, we have a full 24 months though to do that. Yep. So we're still ahead.
Good.
Yep, and then 105. So just to show you guys, this is one of the units and kind of see where they were and where they came from. This is these little small 2-bedroom ones. This was one, I think, kind of win from the last quarter is these ones in 105. They're really small units. So we kind of wondered how much could we push the rent just based on square footage. They're only it's like a small little shotgun style unit down, and then it's got a second story with 2 bedrooms. But yeah, we rented one out for $1,195 and one for $1,095.
And what's the square footage, like 1,000 square feet or something like that?
Yeah, they're closer to like 600 to 700 square feet.
Oh, wow. So, okay, so that's tight. Yeah.
They're just kind of long and narrow. And it's got like a living room but upstairs and a little kitchen. But I think they're clean and new, in which there's just not a whole lot of inventory in this market.
What would be the typical renter? Would it be someone that's kind of blue collar, or is it more middle class? Like single individual professional type, or is it all over the map?
It is, I would say, definitely blue collar. It's a lot of workforce people, right? Yeah. So a lot of these guys there's a lot of jobs coming. There's the big nuclear plant. We're, especially when it comes into, and that's kind of the other one too, I'll show you guys is like the short-term rentals, right? Like we've been furnishing these, and to show you guys here, I'll just show you some of the data here. This is where we've been tracking on the short-term rentals. And then I think this will kind of answer that story this is January, how much revenue we've been generating. These are 6 different units that we furnished, right? They all look like this, right? Well, so this is one of I showed one of the most pretty ones that we did. We had a couple units where they aren't quite as nice, but they're furnished, but they're still renting out. So 6 of those units, and this is what we hit in January, a little bit slower in February, and then already starting to get bookings for March. So definitely a lot of what we've found over the last 6 to 12 months is there's a lot of people, but they're still kind of budget conscious. Like we've actually found that there's a lot of like people that are getting a stipend, right? Or whatever, they're getting their per diem, and they'd still rather like live together or share rooms or keep their costs down. So anyway, so there's a lot of that. And then there's also just people that there's still the traffic, right? So it's right on I-80. So we're still getting like short-term, like people that just want to stay overnight. and it's
Oh,
just right
wow.
there on the border. And
Right.
then we're really excited to start to tap into more of the demographic of people who are working in Utah, right? And they need something cheaper and they're commuting in,
Yep.
right? So anyway,
So
that's
short-term
gonna
rentals is anything less than a month or less than 3 months? How do you define short-term?
short term. You know what? I'm actually just really defining that as like a furnished unit. So
Okay.
because sometimes we've gotten 3-month leases. I've even signed
Okay.
12-month leases before
Yeah.
on like with like companies, and that's what we're really hoping to tap into is these get in with these the operators, right? The guys doing the construction, these bigger companies that want to have predictable housing and just lock something in. Like I did that in Laramie, one of the other towns I invest in, and they
Hmm.
signed like a 2-year lease just so they knew they'd have predictable housing with a kitchen for their workers.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
So anyway,
Yeah.
so anything furnished. Yeah, good questions. Let's see a couple more, and then I got some more kind of on that, kind of some of the growth. Let me go back here. So yeah, this is just summarizing some of 105. It's really similar to that last slide, right? That we're pretty excited that we're getting these 2 bedrooms leased out, and then I mentioned the short-term rentals, and then just even projections, right? So when we ran our numbers, this was our targets, right? So we're hitting that we had our base case. We're really starting to hit the target, and then we had these SDRs in here where we were guessing, all right, let's try to get 1,800 in some of these units, and yeah, we're already starting to see that we can get that on the short-term space. And I think it's really going to ramp up in the summertime. I'll say this: I've talked to some other people who own apartments, and they're like, "Oh man, our Airbnb is so slow in the winter," but we're still renting these things out in January, February. So I think this summer it's going to be even higher demand. So yeah, I'm pretty optimistic. The fact that we're still getting demand in the cold months,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is great. Yeah, I think I've showed you guys some of these photos before. Yeah, and there's some administrative stuff. We as we'll continue to do our interest payments on the 21st, so that'll be Friday for you guys. Always reach out questions if you have questions there. I think everybody should have received a 1099. If you guys haven't received your 1099, please do reach out. That was a nice part about the just having it straight debt is it was a lot easier than waiting on a K1.
Hmm. Right. Right.
And then, yeah, so then we're going to go raise our little final phase here, which is the last, it's actually, sorry, it's not supposed to be 50. It's 150,000 is what we had left to raise on this one. So that'll help us finish out the project. But I think as I told you guys from the start, we've just raised it as we needed it. That way we weren't having to pay a 15% on any capital we weren't using. So now that we're in the last stages, we'll be raising that last 150K, which will be, and it's obviously way easier now, right? Because I'm very thankful for the investors who came in early on, right? And believed in the process before we kind of had all this momentum and units finishing up and renting out. And now it's a lot easier to go raise the money on the back
Are
end
you
because
going to
people
find that
see
you
it.
have to offer the same kind of rates on the last piece, or will you be able to do it more economically because of your
Yeah, that would have, yeah, in hindsight, that would have been one way to do it. But yeah, per the deal disclosure and all the documents, it was agreed upon that we'd raise the full amount at 15%.
Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, good question. So cool. So this is another market trends deal. And I shared this link and I'll share it with you guys. I might even swap sharing my screen here for a second. But this was a really cool article written let me actually share a different tab now. I don't know if you guys saw it, but this was it came from the city of Evanston projecting like where they're going or what things are looking like. I'll do my entire screen here. So this is a really cool article. If you guys haven't read it, it talks a lot about the development and what's going on there with all these jobs. And this is what's driving like all this rental demand. And so they've got like a critical need for 500 to 1,100 new housing units by 2031. Primary workforce housing. So rising rents and home prices are outpacing wages, leaving some families in a tough spot. So they're trying to figure that out. And then this also talks about this is the Terra power plant. This is the one that is Bill Gates is behind. So it's 40 miles north. And so that's been underway a lot in Evanston, seeing a ton of growth from there. This is another big one. It's also identified as affected by these two multi-billion-dollar, these are like soda ash, or these are like trona mines that are not too far away. So anyway, this whole area of the state of Wyoming is there's a lot of growth and a lot of workers and not enough places to live. So that's why we were super excited when we bought this one. And yeah, I just wanted to share this from what the city of Evanston was planning. So it's pretty exciting.
Is your long-term plan to kind of double down in that region to try to do another project there?
Yeah, we're looking at a large multifamily in the same market. So we'll see how that it's. Yeah, I'm really. It's 100. It's 120 units. So in the same town. So we'll see. But they're not in distress. right? So
Right.
they're a competent
Right.
operator. But at the same time, I think there's still upside in rents that we're not seeing. So yeah, we're
Yeah.
working on numbers there. I think, yeah, I like it. And then there's just I just, again, geographically being so close to Salt Lake City and Park City, where those markets I think will continue to thrive, or at least they're going to be stable. And this is right on the border and one of the few affordable places close by. Because even as these jobs, right, at these projects ebb and flow, you're still just going to have that affordability in Wyoming,
Yeah.
I think.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Um, what else I was going to share something else about this? Yeah, but I mean, in that, I mean, if you look at, I should just Google like a population of Evanston. I think it's only like 10,000 people. That's not. That's definitely not. It's Evanston. Where Northwestern's at. Evanston, Wyoming, 11,000. So 11,000 people, to put this in perspective, and they're expecting to be shorted by like 1,100 potentially houses. So that's like 10%.
Population. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a big rise. So anyway, it's a smaller town. And I'll be honest with you guys, historically, I've been cautious on towns of this size in Wyoming, but just again, based on, I'll just show it one last time, just on the map, right? So people can see where Evanston's at.
Yeah.
It's because it's located right here on I-80, which is the main highway. You get a ton of just traffic just being on I-80 that runs across Wyoming all the way across. I mean, I-80 runs all the way from, Cheyenne all the way through Nebraska. And then again, right from Evanston, though, you're getting into Salt Lake. Anyway, so it's just a little hub here, and it's on the interstate. And yeah, and then that mine is like right here. The Terra power plant is up here in Kemmer. And then you got these mines down here. So anyway.
How far from Salt Lake? Like I think you told me an hour 15?
Yeah, just only about an hour. I think it's 80 miles and then like 60 miles. And Park City's right here, about 60 miles away.
Yeah, and that's a pricey area. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's wild. So a lot of and then back to your first question, right? So we even get like workers that want to be down here in Park City, right? Here's Park City right here. And there's no way they can afford to live down there. So they're commuting 45 to 60 minutes a day to live in a place like Evanston.
And your workforce is still the same crew that you put in place there from Texas?
Yep.
Everybody's fine there?
Yeah. And we've moved guys around at times, like sometimes depending on demand. I've even had, like, I got a crew from Casper right now that's helping down there. And so yeah, they've been getting some stuff online, keeping it moving. Cause yeah, I was just like, one of my goals was to get as many of these online as fast as I can to where we were. Because as I mentioned, when I was modeling this out, like for several months, we'd be losing money until we got vacancy up. But I wanted to accelerate that curve. So we've, and that's probably what's got us ahead of schedule too, is bringing in another, but it's a small crew. It's like 2 guys that we just gave them their own unit.
Right. Yep.
Good questions. What else? What else you guys got?
No, I mean, it sounds like everything's full speed ahead, right? I mean,
yeah.
You're still on. You still think, like you said, in 12 months or so, you're going to try to you'll have it refinanced.
Yeah, I would love to have it done this year, like I said, and it's just going to be depending upon how the bank or how many months the bank wants to see us at whatever 90%. Typically, I've seen 90% for 90 days.
Yeah. Now, what bank will you use? Like Zion or some kind of local bank there? Do you have somebody in Texas you work with?
Yeah, I've got one in Texas we're working with. We're actually going through the process on a 66 unit. It's like Greystone, those guys, and I think they broker it out. But I'll definitely we're making some more connections with Uinta Bank. It's Uinta County. So Uinta Bank and First State Bank. I'll look at all 3. I know the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac debt is obviously usually the cheapest, but we'll definitely look at both of them. Great. Any other questions, Jay or John?
I don't have any. I mean, it sounds like, things are on track. I mean, anything that you're nervous that could go wrong, or is just sounds like it's full speed ahead.
Yeah. I mean, not really. I'm excited to see the vacancy or the occupancy tick up once the weather warms up even more. But it's been, that was the other thing I was going to mention is, and I know it's a popular thing with like Kyle and Colin and some of these guys, is co-living, because of that big gap they talked about in that article where there's like all these houses prices are going up. There's a finite amount. We're looking at one of our units we furnished. It's a 3-bedroom. We're going to try to rent it out by the bedroom because I feel like there's so many people that they have to live there or want to live there, but now are getting priced out. So we're kind of playing with that model. And I've got another house on a different asset that's like a big house where it's got like 6 or 7 bedrooms. And anyway, I'm piloting it on one of these units because these got like 3 bedrooms and we already got people and staff over there. So we're going
So
to
the
try that
three
out
people
too.
wouldn't necessarily have to know each other. So it would be just kind of, they just come on
Bingo.
in and rent a room instead of the unit.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then just going back to that point I made earlier, where like we find a lot of workers up there. They're like, they get a per diem and they're like, I'm going to live as cheap as I can because they
Yeah.
probably don't live in Evanston. So they're going to live as cheap as they can and have a warm bed and a kitchen. And
Right. And try to bag some of the per diem money on. Why not? So,
yeah, exactly. But yeah, no, it should be solid. And yeah, just excited to look at some more opportunities. And yeah, I mean, I would love, or not selfishly, but maybe optimistically, I would love to be able to refinance this thing sooner than later. Cause yeah, we're looking at other projects. That was the other thing I was going to bring up. If you guys maybe got some of the emails, we started an equity offering where it's, obviously this was a fixed debt one. And I'm really glad the way we set it up because even just from like the fun administrative side, it's a lot easier this year with like 1099s. Right. So, but now we're going to the equity one because the equity ones. I'll say this about the equity fund. I'm really excited because you guys saw several different like economic drivers, like driving growth. And right now it's still though slow in the market. A lot of the markets we're looking at in Wyoming, it's just the market is still slow because rates haven't really dropped and it's cold, right? People just don't do a whole lot now. But we want to take basically some swings at some other stuff that, hey, let's get it under contract now while things are slow. And if things heat up this summer like they have for like 3 or 4 years, then boom, it's a great opportunity to turn and flip it. And then we'll obviously pay out the equity fund through that. But we're underwriting them to where, okay, let's say it doesn't, we can hold this thing as a rental or say rates start to go back up or who knows what's going to happen, right? But we're trying to underwrite deals to where we can keep as a buy and hold. And I love it in a fund setting because we're looking for people who've got like a 5-year horizon to where they're like, all right, if we can flip and sell these, great. We just made a profit and let's do it again. Or do we need to hold them? But we're holding them in these markets that should be continuing to grow.
Right. What were you doing in Scottsdale? I saw something at Scottsdale. You were presenting at some kind of conference or something?
Yeah. Yep, I got to go down there. It was through Pace Morby and Matt Sorensen. So Matt Sorensen runs Directed Trust IRA, a self-directed IRA company, and basically it was like a deal where you could go pitch your offering. So I was pitching one of our offerings for my fund, and it's a really cool opportunity. And got to get feedback from Pace and Matt, and it went really well. Actually, it was nice to I was glad. I don't know. Yeah, just all the conversations and raising the fund well prepared me for the questions versus I know a lot of other people were there and just the holes they were poking in were at least holes that have been poked in me before. So I was prepared and been planning for it.
That's great.
Yeah. But definitely if you guys and anybody who's watching the recording or you guys as well, please, I know I shared it with Kyle too. If anybody is interested in more of the equity play, it's a 5-year hold and I could share some of the pitch deck and returns there. We're projecting our IRR. We're projecting around 20. It's between 20 and 21% over the 5-year hold. Got it. Any other questions?
That's it for me, Casey. Appreciate the time.
Cool. Well, appreciate you guys tuning in. If you have any questions on the new fund or anything here, for somebody who watches the recording, you guys know where to find us. Just shoot us an email, Casey@GregersenProperties.com. And we'll be posting this on our website too. And if you guys didn't know, we put our recordings on the website as well, bighorncapital.com, our quarterly updates. So you guys can find them there too.
Excellent.
All right, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
We'll see you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.